Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where and when you're listening to this. This is Coffee with Kevin. Mm, 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 That was my coffee, or is my coffee right here. And I'm Kevin. I hope you're enjoying a nice hot cup of coffee, a hot cup of tea, or water, or smoothie, whatever it is that you enjoy in the morning to you today. Mm, mm, mm. I'm Kevin Martin, a hypnotherapist, a mindset coach, a lot of different things that I like to do. And today, November 11th, almost halfway through November here, a little over a month and a half left to the end of 2025. It's like yesterday I was introducing 2025, and it's not too long from now I'll be introducing 2026. Today is November 11th. Today is Veterans Day. Yes, Veterans Day, and back there, let's see, back there. That's right. Um, that back there is the flag. That was my father's flag. My father was a World War II veteran. Yes, a World War II veteran, and he served in the Navy in the Pacific Ocean. He was so excited and thrilled to want to join the military. He went there and lied about his age before he was 18. His father found out and supported him. And an interesting thing that I found out later in later years, before my father passed, is that his father is my grandfather, who I grew up and got to know, used to work at the or had worked at the Navy Yard, building ships in Boston. And my father ended up on one of the ships that my grandfather had actually worked on. And that's just an amazing, amazing thing. Yeah, my father was in the Pacific. He was a naval man, and he was on a ship, an LST, that transported the Marines and the trucks and the tanks and all that. So my father did not get on land, but if I remember right, one of the famous battles he was involved in was Iwo Jima. So yes, he told me his ship that got shot at and things like that. He was a radio man. He wasn't there, to fight. He was there to communicate, and that's what he did. And surprisingly, my uncle, who was younger than my father, and actually not on my father's side, he was married to my mother's sister. He was a radio man too, but in the Korean War. So there's a little bit of coincidence there, but they're both in communications. And today we're talking about connection with it is part of communications. Part of communications. Before we get going, today being Veterans Day, it's also National Sunday Day. Now, I'm not talking about Sunday, the day of the week. I'm talking about that delicious Sunday that we have as an ice cream favorite, where we pile on different flavors of ice cream and then chocolate or strawberry or pineapple, any kind of syrup with whipped cream and nuts. That's good. Sundays. National Sunday Day, too. So if you know a veteran, you can offer him a Sunday. You make 2 days in one. So, being Veterans Day, I want to honor all veterans, both alive and past. And if you're a veteran out there, if you know a veteran out there, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank them for their service for me. Not being a veteran, I don't know and everything about being in that part of brother and sisterhood that is being a veteran, especially combat veterans. I don't know anything about the anguish except from what I hear from the people that I do know that have been through. That's a big sacrifice. A sacrifice for their country, a sacrifice for us being part of their country. So if you see veterans today, definitely, definitely thank them. Shake their hand if you can. Thank them for being there, for doing what they've done for their service. Okay. Also, what day is it? Oh, birthdays today. Oh, as far as a day in history, this was the signing of the in 1620, a few years ago, the signing of the Mayflower Compact by the Pilgrims at Cape Cod, establishing the first framework of government in the territory that is now known as the USA. Yes. Anything else worth? Well, here's something worth talking about. German mathematician in 1675 was born. He in 1675, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz demonstrates the integral calculus for the first time to find the area under the graph of the function y equals fx. This was 1675. All right. In 2025, I can't explain that. I thought that was kind of cute. Also, birthdays today. George S. Patton, speaking of military men, speaking of World War II, George S. Patton was born in 1885 and he died in 1945, the very end of the war. General Patton. Um, and other birthdays, Demi Moore turns to 63 today. And Leonardo DiCaprio turns 51 today. So happy birthday to them, and happy birthday to anyone out there that is their birthday this today or this week, for celebrating birthdays. And that's it. So today we're talking about connections. I just want to tell you what's happened in this past week. My brother-in-law flew in, and he's coming down to visit, and he hadn't been down here in a while. So we got to see him. My wife was thrilled to see her baby brother, the youngest brother. And, so we got to spend some time. We got to go over to St. Augustine, which Brenner and I have been here for 2+ years now. We hadn't been to St. Augustine. Yes, it's across the state to the other coast. But I've heard so much about it, and we wanted to be there, wanted to go there. So we did. We spent a couple days there. We got the trolley, the hop on, hop off, lots of history. And maybe before I planned this trip, I didn't know that much about it, and I got a little bit to know, but it's the oldest city in the U.S. It's the oldest city. Matter of fact, when the Spaniards came in, and they had their settlement and they worked with the Native Americans that were there. They had basically the first Thanksgiving. They didn't think of it as Thanksgiving, but it was a meal, and thanks, for the fact that they had survived and they had settled and they invited the Native Americans. They had that 50 years before the one in Plymouth, Mass. So yeah, they're very early settlements, and of course, being Spanish, lots of Catholic stuff around in Saint Pete. So we got to go to the cathedral. We got to go to the shrine for Our Lady of Leche, which is the patron saint for babies and mothers, and it's about nursing. And so, yeah, it was really, really interesting. Lots and lots of history. And guess what? The history of an old city like that also has the history of the dead and the history of the atrocities, of course, that happened back 400 years ago. And I would love to say that we don't have atrocities today, but we do. And that's something we got to continue to pray for, that, to less and less atrocities. But there were atrocities back then, and there were deaths. And with deaths, especially over long periods of time, come the stories and come the ghosts. And we went on a ghost tour at night. It was pretty cool. We went to the old jail where there had been executions in there, and we got to be there at night with very little light. And it was kind of spooky. And, it was performance stuff going on and help make it spooky, but not not as much as in Halloween, keeping along with mostly the facts of what happened in there. So it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I got to connect with people. And Sunday was a Patriots Buccaneers game. So having lived in Boston all my life until 2 years ago, Patriots fan, but having lived here for over 2 years, Buccaneers fan too. So I got to see the game, and we connected also with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. So we all got together, and my nephew. So we all got together, and we just had a great day together. That connection is so important for family, for friends. I connect with my friends, I connect with my colleagues every week in different meetings. And tomorrow I make new connections at a health fair that I'm going to. I love making connections with people all the time. So that's what we're talking about, how valuable it is to make connections and what connections can do for you. So let's look at our first quote today. Our first quote today is: connection is why we're here. It's what gives us purpose and meaning to our lives. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. So connection is why we are here. So we always have that question about, okay, why are we here? What's our purpose? Well, connection to other people. I've also had quotes that say service, but that's connection to other people as well. And I've also had that old quote in my head all these years: is we're not an island. We're meant to be with others. We're meant to have that connection. And that's what we're all about, living here on this great ball of rock and water called Earth. We're not meant to live our lives in isolation. We're meant to connect with others and do what we can with them and for them. It gives us purpose and meaning. And a lot of the times that's a problem many people have, is they don't have purpose and meaning in their lives, and they're just so overwhelmed with everything, and they can't because they don't have that purpose and meaning. So connect with others, connect with family, connect with friends, and start to connect with people you don't know yet. And that's great. Okay, next one. In every interaction, we are either building a bridge or burning one. That's something to keep in mind when we're connecting with others. Me personally, I want to build bridges. I want to build as many bridges as I can. I don't want to burn bridges. So in that connection, either you're doing something positive or you're doing something negative. All right, since I know how our minds work, when we do something negative, it impacts us negatively. Even though we might then be thinking, okay, we're being negative because of the external, because of the others, other people, or the other things, but we make it worse for ourselves. So I'd much rather have positive connections, even if they are with people that I might not favor so much. I want to make it as positive as possible. I want to be a bridge builder, not a bridge burner. Okay, now, when we seek to discover the best in others, we somehow bring out the best in ourselves. This is a more personal, almost more selfish reason for doing it if you're looking to bring out the best in yourselves. But if you want to bring out the best in yourselves, you already know that this connection and this positive thing with others is something you want to do. So we seek to bring out the best in others, and we somehow bring out the best in ourselves. I love this. I love this quote. I love this philosophy. bring out the best in others so we can bring out the best in ourselves. We're doing that just as we're bringing out the best in others, because that is the best we can ever be, is to help others become better, help others in whatever they need. The connection, true connection, is not built on talking about ourselves, but on being genuinely curious about others. This is Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek was became famous for talking about the why we are here. You know, the why we all have, but it's not why we're doing what we're doing. It's why we're here in the first place. Why we do the things we've been doing all our lives, and that's what he became famous for. And when you're talking about the why, it's all often about how we connect to others, what we're doing connecting to others. And here he's just talking about being genuinely curious about others, and that's in that connection. It's not built on us talking about ourselves and us being so proud of ourselves. And I got to admit, sometimes I love my stuff so much. I talk about what I do. I talk about myself, and I always, when I recognize it, I come back and reconnect it to not me, but the kinds of things that I use, the kinds of tools that I use. They're fantastic for helping humans heal. And so, yeah, but when you're genuinely curious about others, genuinely curious about, okay, what have you been doing? How did you become that? How did you get into that? Why do you like it so much? What does it do for you? What does it do for the people around you? You're all questions. When you're asking questions and you genuinely want to know, so you can really build a picture of that person. That's how I look at it. I want to build a genuine picture of that person. I want to know how they tick. That's where I come from and what I do in the first place. Okay, lastly, the last one's short and easy. We rise by lifting others. It has a little bit to do with, when we seek to, to lift others, when we seek to make others their best, we become the best. That's this one. We rise by lifting others. That should be a simple thing to live by, a simple statement to live by. Lift others. You know, um, in my journey, part of my journey was researching and figuring out what management was all about. When I was in corporate, I was a manager and I wanted to be a very, very good manager. And so I did the research, I did the study, I read the books. And a lot of the more modern ones would say, okay, it's about your team, it's not about you, right? It's about lifting them up, it's about giving them credit. Some of the greatest coaches, athletic coaches, when they get a win, they give the credit to their team. When they get a loss, they take the blame. All right. That's lifting others. That's lifting others. Give credit to the team. Give credit to the other people. Okay. That's the cool thing about that. So I was talking about connection, but then we got into almost purpose and we got into how we should treat others. That all has to do with connection. Build up your connections. When I talk about connecting with family, sometimes it's the toughest connections. Sometimes as we grow apart further and further and further apart. And you don't want to get to the end of life having grown that far apart. I saw it with some of the extended family. I saw people that hadn't talked to their siblings in 20, 30 years because of a what seemed like a trivial argument or blaming someone for something that didn't really have a huge impact in the overall things. But I also saw after the 20 or 30 years, connections being rebuilt again, being able to talk civilly, being able to really have curiosity and interest in each other's lives and what's gone on over those years. And that's you want to start doing that now before it's too late. Before it's too late. That, of course, deals with something that's a big part of connection, which is called forgiveness. That's something I specialize in, something I work with my clients and for with my students, and that is one of you know what it's all about is being able to let go and really have that connection without the interference of those mostly trivial things that get in the way. Don't let it get in the way. Reconnect with whoever you can today. All right. This has been Coffee with Kevin, and I am still enjoying nice. It's not as hot as it was at the beginning, but it's still nice and warm. Mm, still enjoying my coffee, and I'm hoping you are yours as well. Until next week, have a phenomenal day, an incredible week. And it's not just me wishing it for you, it's not my words. You're in control. You can make it that way. And you know. All right, take care, everyone. I will see you next week. All right. If I could only learn how to log off, that would be cool. When do we go offline? Come on, man. It's my morning off like this. You gotta do what you gotta do, though. Come on. And this being so slow, I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's because everybody else is on the internet. Didn't even come on today, right?